2019 has not been a good year for him. But boy, he's let the Lord use him and grow him, and I'm so proud of him and love him a lot.
Thank you, Graham. I'm gonna step up here. My name's Tyler for you guys. My whole life has said that I'm going to be a preacher, and everybody had looked at her like she's crazy, especially how the way that I've acted in my life. But here we are today. I'm going to try to do this and not get emotional. It has been I'm not doing very good at not getting emotional yet. It's been a tough year. It's been a very tough year for me, and my grandma has been my rock and my salvation through this whole thing. And I'm very appreciative of her. And I like to read a scripture. This scripture came to me one night when I was in jail, and it really changed my life. It says, it's Revelations 3. It says, I know all things that you do, and that you have the reputation of being alive, but you are dead. Wake up, strengthen what little remains, for even what is left is almost dead. I find that the actions do not meet the requirements of my God. Go back to what you heard and what you believed at first. Hold on to it firmly and repent and turn to me again. And if you do not wake up, I will come at you like a thief in the night. Boy, that verse really spoke to me, especially being in a place that is very, very scary. And I am very thankful for this card that you guys sent me. Every time that I get down and I feel like I can't move on anymore, I look at this and I know that I have a team of people that are praying for me that have my back. And that is awesome to have. Gosh, I don't know why I'm so emotional. I'm trying to get it together here. So starting out this year, I was in a very bad relationship with my ex-wife, and I was in a very bad place when it came to drinking and doing a lot of stuff I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't being a good father, and I wasn't being a good husband, and that led me in a fun place we call Sedgwick County Prison, or Sedgwick County Jail, and that's a very scary place to be. And the first go around, I did about 4 months in there, and being in there with police badges tattooed on your arms is not a good place. It's even scarier, and I spent that 4 months, and I went to 7 different counties because I would get in fights because people thought I was a cop. Thankfully, I got blessed that I played hockey, I can fight a little bit, so it wasn't too bad. And then I got out and went directly back to my old ways, and God was saying, hey, you got to come out of this, and I went back to my old ways, and lo and behold, right back into jail. And this time I was in there on some pretty serious charges that carry a 12-month sentence, and I had 3 of those charges. So I was looking at 36 months. And I was thinking to myself, how in the world am I going to do 36 months in a place that hates me with these police badges tattooed on my arm? I'm not going to make it. And so when I went to my sentencing, the judge gave me my 36 months. And I had broke down, and I knew that I was in trouble, so I became a trustee. Now, what a trustee is, you go around and you get to clean up the jail. You get to be out of your cell, and you think, oh, you get to be out, you get to clean up. No, it's not fun. I got to see 2 people hanging, and I had to clean up the blood after every fight in the jail, which was very, very hard to do. And one day I was serving food to an inmate in an aggravated pod, which is these guys are looking at 20 years to life in prison, and they're just waiting for their sentencing. And I went to go serve a tray to this gentleman, and he stabbed me in my arm. And the guard kind of looked away, and I was like, oh, I'm in trouble if he won't do anything about this. And so I didn't go in there with this guy because he was about 6'10", 500 pounds, and I was terrified. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but I was pretty scared. And so then I got put into an aggravated pod. And that means that I'm going into the same pod where these guys are looking at 20 years to life, and I have no felony charges. I'm in there on misdemeanor charges. And I knew right then and there I'm going to not probably come out of here. And that was very hard for me to realize that. And first night I went in there, I was taking a shower to dress out of my tan clothes into the orange clothes, and I got pushed back into the shower. I got beat up pretty good. And with my back to the wall, I told God, I was like, if you get me out of this, man, I'll change my ways, and I promise that I will. And so he got me out of it, and I went and sat in my cell, which is a 6x6 cell. And man, a couple days I didn't do anything, and finally I hit my knees, and I'm like, God, please forgive me, please take the burdens off my chest, and I will do anything you tell me to do if you get me out of here safe. And man, the next day I called my gram, and and I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she's been my rock through this whole thing, and she's like, well, we're going to pray for you, and we're going to take care of you with our prayers. And I was like, well, I appreciate that. And so I appealed my original sentencing. And so when you appeal a sentencing, it goes to the next higher judicial system. So I got sentenced in county, and so I appealed it, and I got sentenced in the city, and I appealed it, and it went to the county. And I spent a lot of time in my cell reading the Bible, and I didn't want to go out into the population because I knew I was going to get beat up again. So I stayed right in my cell, and I was in the Word the whole time because I knew that was my grace, that was my mercy. My God will forgive me, and He'll protect me as long as I stay right here. And I did that, and one day I got up the nerve, and I went out to the main population. I sat down, and I started reading my Bible in front of all these guys, and went back to my cell. Next time I went out, and I started reading my Bible. Did that 3 times. The 4th time I went out there, a gentleman sit down and said, can I read with you? I said, absolutely. We did that. Next time I came out, 2 more guys came up. Can we read with you? I said, absolutely. I said, I don't know much what I'm doing, but I know that my God right here is going to help us out through this no matter what. And He did. And so that next week, I had my appeals court, and my sentence went from 36 months to non-reporting probation. And I was like, woo, I'm going to make it. And they work release authorized me, which that means I can go to community corrections to be in work release. I can get out of jail. I've been in there about 3 months, Graham, maybe 2 months. It felt like a year, but it wasn't that. It was a tough time. And so I got out. They came and picked me up Tuesday night at about midnight to take me over to community corrections. I don't know why they like to move you at night, maybe because you're sleepy and they just want to be jerks. I have no idea. But I got to corrections on Wednesday morning, and we got all checked in, and then I found out church was that Wednesday night. So I was like, oh, I'll go check it out. And crazy thing was, I checked it out, and the guy that was supposed to be preaching there wasn't there. So they said, anybody want to share their testimony? Well, I'll give it a shot. I mean, do I get any extra credit? Do I get any time off my sentence? I'll do whatever I got to do that. You don't, by the way. But so I got up and I shared my testimony, and it was I remember calling my grandma and saying, I don't even remember what the heck I said. But I got some claps, and I don't know if they were clapping because they had to clap or what the deal was, but it felt good. It felt good to be able to get off my chest that, you can not be successful in life, but still have God, and He will protect you, and He will hold on to your faith as long as you say, God, I need your help. And so the guy that was at the class, he said, would you like to preach next Wednesday? I said, sure, why not? What do you want me to preach on? He said, well, you pick what you preach on. And so I didn't get to do it that Wednesday because I've been in a program called BIP, which is a batterers intervention program. So I went to jail my first time for domestic violence, which is not a fun thing to say that I've done, but I've done it and I'm guilty of it. And I've asked for forgiveness for all parties. And we're working on our relationship through there. That's a very hard thing to overcome with anything when you have children. And so I did 36 weeks of this program, and the night that I was supposed to preach, they talked about how domestic violence affects your kids. And I have 3 kids, and I love my kids dearly, and I'm proud to be a father. And that broke my heart. So I told the guys, I can't preach today. I can't share my testimony right now because I'm a little broken down. And so the next Wednesday talked to Graham, and she's a good hype woman. I'll tell you what, she'll get you going. And so I gave a sermon on an instruction manual, how as men, we don't need those things. We just kind of throw them away. But this is my instruction manual for life. And it will always be right here by my heart, because this has helped me through so much. And I had no idea, if I could just ask God just to take care of me and help me, and I will change, and I will do the best that I can. Now, I still struggle quite a bit with drinking and partying, but I found out when I got out of corrections finally that I was also a magician. And being a faithful man with hanging out with people that aren't faithful, that don't have faith, you become a magician, and you do that by saying, hey, I'm not going to drink. I love my God, and I'm going to stay true, and I'm going to hold on to my faith. And your friends go, whew, whew, whew. And all of a sudden, you're by yourself. And for me, that's a very hard thing to deal with, too, because I'm a very social person. My parents always say I have the gift of gab, and, I love being around people and talking. And to do all this, essentially, without your friends that you considered family, or without, some of your family saying you're not going to make it. You're a repeat offender. You do the same thing over and over and over. We're not even going to entertain the idea that you're going to make it. That's just fuel to my fire. Now, I have done the same thing over and over and over, but this time is different because I've given my life to God, and I've said that we're going to make it. And we've been doing good, and I've been doing good by myself without my friends. I got my Graham, I got Linda, and I got Dick, and I got you guys to pray for me, and it's been working out. And I was going fine down the road. I found a house. I was getting ready to move into the house, and I went to go clean the house yesterday. And the kid's like, yeah, man, the house isn't bad at all. Lord, we went in there, and I moved the refrigerator, and there was cockroaches and bugs and mice. And my grandma's so sweet. She came, well, yeah. And I'm like, Graham, you're a terrible liar. You have a terrible poker face. And, I work a lot of hours, so I was trying to figure out a way that I could clean this to move my stuff in there, because I didn't want to get my stuff in there. And my parents finally had a little mercy on me, and they said, we would like to help you get an apartment, because my dad came over to help look at the house, and he's like, there's no way you're moving in there. So last night, a little bit of good news. I went and looked at an apartment. I got an approved for an apartment. I'm moving in today. And that is a huge blessing. I'm 33 years young, and I've never lived on my own. I've always lived in a house filled with people that we party and drink and chase after girls, So this would be good for me to live on my own. And then, so that happened, and, doing all right. I don't know if my Graham probably told you guys he got into a car accident that most people wouldn't walk away from last Monday. A lady hit me. She ran a red light, and she hit me doing about 45, 50 miles an hour. And it crushed me, because my car was my only thing that I had in life that was mine, that I loved so much, and I took good care of that car, and it's crushed. So now I haven't figured out that part. I got a plan B, and as soon as I figure out what plan B is about the car, I'm going to do that and probably move directly to plan C. But, God is good, and God's taking care of me and giving me a place to live and giving me a group of people that have my back and pray for me, and I will overcome that too. And I will overcome, the temptations of life, and, not only prove to myself, but prove to the people that don't believe in me that I can be a sober person and I can be a good father to my children. So that's about all I have. I kind of was all over the place, but God has been good to me ever since, that scary day in jail. And I hold very firm to my faith because of that. And going through that was a very scary, traumatic event. And I'm very thankful to come out of it and to be here to get to talk to you guys today. So, you guys have any questions?
Tell them about why you have the police badges on your arm.
Okay, yeah. So I have 2 police badges tattooed on my arm. One is for my dad, and one is for my grandpa. My grandpa was a lieutenant, and my dad was a sergeant on the Wichita Police Department for 35 years. And I looked up to my dad and my grandpa very much so. And so I thought I'd honor them by getting the police badges tattooed on my arm, not thinking I would go to jail and have to deal with that. But yeah, so that's why I have them on there, to honor my family. I never tried to cover them up. I was going to wear a long sleeve shirt today, that way I wouldn't, look like too much of a crazy guy with a bunch of tattoos. But this is my family pride, and I take very much pride in my family. So, yes, ma'am.
What age are your children?
I have a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 14-year-old.
Wow.
The 2 and 3-year-old are almost a year apart. Exactly. One's April 6th and one's April 8th. Yeah. Boy and girl. It's awesome. They're wild. Yes, ma'am.
Get to see them very often?
So with my ex-wife, she was the one, we went through our traumatic experience with. It's very hit or miss with her, as long as I do, because she's an attorney and a judge. And so that's why my experience in jail wasn't that great. And I stayed in there longer than what most people would on charges that I had. So as long as I'm nice and I play and I do what she wants me to do, and she doesn't want me to do anything crazy, just live sober so I can be around the kids and we don't argue in front of the kids anymore. So I get to see them every now and then, yeah. More than I was. So, yep. Yes, sir.
When you were in prison, was there a ministry there?
There was, yeah. So on Father's Day this last Father's Day was the last time I went into the church, and it was pretty cool, except for everybody there. You had to be handcuffed down to the chair. So if you had a question, I was going to tell you guys, if you have questions, you have to raise both hands, because that makes me feel comfortable. Because when you're in jail, you can't just raise one; you got to raise them both. But I didn't do that. I figured you wouldn't want to do that. There was, though. It was It wasn't anybody coming in to talk to you. You would go in there, sit down at the chair, get handcuffed to the chair, and then they'd push you in a movie or a DVD. Nobody would really. That's something that I really want to get into. I think guys would react more if they were talking to a guy that's been through the situation. Yeah, and so I'm not there yet, but eventually it's something that I want to look into, to do some ministry in the jails, because I'm not afraid to go in there, even with my police badges tattooed on. I'll go in there and preach the word of my God, because He saved my life when I was in there. So I don't mind going in there and sharing my testimony with them, saying, if I can do it, you can do it. So that's something I'm definitely going to look into here down the road. Yep.
What's your favorite book of the Bible as you've been reading?
Probably Revelations. I think that's the realest for me, because he tells you, if you're not doing right, I'm going to come back and you're not going to come with me. And that'll really shape you up pretty quick. So, yep. Anything else? I'm an open book.
What's your job?
I landscape. So right now I do landscaping. When I was growing up with my grandpa, he had our landscaping. Well, we mowed. And I wasn't even big enough to carry a weed whacker, but he made a strap to go around my back so I could, weed whack. And I love mowing. And so I got blessed with this job. I'm a foreman now at the landscaping job, and I run a crew of 3. And so we do all the Krogers. We do all the Krogers in the Midwest. So all the Dillenses and Kroger gas stations, we do all the landscaping and irrigation for them. So
in the wintertime, is there going to be a decrease in your...
We'll slow down, but then we switch to tree trimming. So we do Marion County and El Dorado. We do a lot of city properties too, and we do all around Marion County. And unfortunately, that lake is destroyed from the floods, but it looks like a desert now. But we go there and we'll do all the tree work in the wintertime. And if it ever snows or is icy, we'll do that. But here in Kansas, I don't see that happening very much. So we do ice removal too. So, yep.
What can we, as a small group of people, do to help people in your situation? I'm not saying that it's very intimidating for somebody that isn't religious to ask to be prayed for. For me it was fine, but when I was in jail, guys were like, I don't want them to pray for me. I don't want them knowing my business. No, you don't have to tell them your business. Just they're praying for your safety and your well-being. It's just nice that people say, I'm praying for you, or I'm thinking about you. That's guys in my situation are going to do one of two things. You're either going to make it and succeed, or you're going to go right back to what you're doing and end up where you're at. And the only person that can change that is them. So I feel like the more that people try to push you to change, for me, I'm very rebellious. So the more people are like, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do that, the more I'm like, well, I'm going to do what I want to do. So.
Tyler, the guys that came, the one guy and then the other two that came and sat with you, could they even read, or did you read to them?
Most of them couldn't read, and I'm not the greatest reader, but so when we would go to church, the guy that would push the play on the video, he would give us pieces of paper that had, like, if you're having a bad day, read this verse, or if you're stressed out, read this verse. And so I would just go over there, hey, you want to read this one? I'll read this one, and we would make it through it. So it was interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, we made it work.
Good.
Yep.
How was I fed you?
I am so glad to not be on that diet. So in jail, you get grits for breakfast, and you get bologna or peanut butter and jelly packets for lunch, and gumbo for dinner. Gumbo being, we would call it either the pink gumbo or the brown gumbo. You have absolutely no idea what's in it. I mean, I think a couple of times we identified like maybe 7 or 8 different things. You'd have like a piece of bologna or a hot dog or rice or something that looked like a potato. I wasn't for sure what it was. It's not very fun to eat in jail. If you want to go on a diet, go to jail and you'll lose some weight. I don't recommend it. I mean, there's other diets that are probably way better, but yeah, it's I guess it's all a part of the experience. Is what that jail is made to. They say it's made to make you plea. So what that means, if you're awaiting charges, they want to make your life so difficult that when you go into court and they offer you a plea deal to go to prison or to go to somewhere else, you're like, yeah, I'll take it. Regardless of whether or not you deserve that plea, you're like, I'll do anything to get out of Sedgwick County. Because in the other counties, they don't have food like that. You don't see cockroaches backing mice into corners. I mean, cockroaches and mice flying all over the place. That jail is, and there's black mold on the showers. They don't, and you can fight in there. They will see you. And I had a homeless kid that told me he came into jail to get high.
Oh my.
He came into jail to do drugs. And in that, it's very easy. You can get whatever you want in jail. Yeah, so it's our judicial system here is kind of crappy because just in Wichita alone, in the work release program, it's supposed to be a program to help you get back on your feet, a rehabilitation program. The program is set to fail. It sets you up to fail because they charge you $450 a month just for rent to be in there. They give you 1 week to find a job. You don't find a job, you go back to jail. So when you're in there, you not only have to pay your $450, like for me, I had to pay my child support, and I had to pay, this $450 and my fines. And if you don't pay any one of those, you go back to jail. You don't have a choice. And it used to be in there that if you paid the $450, they would apply that to your fines or your child support. And this is a federally funded facility that gets grants from the state and the federal government to run this facility, but yet they still charge these people rent. And it is very, very hard to succeed. The rollover rate there is 95%. 5% of the guys that go in there make it out.
Explain how when you had to walk to the bus, the time thing, where you were timed down to the minute or whatever.
Yeah, so when you get a job and you don't have a vehicle, you have a certain amount of time that Google allows you to walk from place to place. So if Google says you can make it 5 miles in 20 minutes walking, you have to make that work or you go back to jail. So you're typically sprinting from, like for me, we were at, the Nifty Nut House to the transport station, the bus station. They gave us, I think, 7 minutes to get there.
And so most of the mornings you'd wake up and, I gotta go, and take off running. And, you'd get there and then just sit and wait for the bus to come. So, and then when you get off work, it's the same thing. Like we work at Walker and West Street, which is a little south of Kellogg. And they would give us 25 minutes to get back, and that's including the walk down to where we got picked up on Maple. And then they take us to the transit center, from the transit center back to corrections. And if you didn't make it in a lot of time, you go back to jail. That program is set up to fail. So, and it sucks because everybody coming in there knows it. They know, like, I'm just out on vacation for a week, because if you don't make your bed right, you get written up. And I hate making my bed, and I'm not good at it either. But in there, if you don't make it right, they write you up. You get 3 write-ups, you go back to jail. If you don't have the right clothes on, or you don't, sign up for dinner and you don't eat your dinner, you get a write-up. I mean, it's set to fail. And if I was a political person, man, I'd try to do something about it, because the world would be a lot better off if somebody would speak up for those guys, saying you can't have a program that's set to fail. And it's very hard, because guys have been in jail for years, know that they're going to get out for a week on vacation pretty much, and they're either going to run from there, or they're going to try to stay in the program. And these guys have felony charges. They try to find a job in a week. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. And the only way you can get a ride is if you give your whole life story to the person that's driving you. Thankfully they like Graham. Graham took me wherever I needed to go. I think she brought him cookies, but she won't tell me. Yeah, so I'm very thankful to be out of that place, and I feel bad for the guys that are in there, because they just set you up to fail, and it sucks.
We commend you for being doing such a great job to do it.
Thank you. It's not been easy, It's been one of the hardest things I've done, but I find relief in talking about it. I didn't used to be like that, because you go through something like domestic violence or the things that I've done in my life, and you want to hold those inside, and you don't want to tell anybody because of fear of judgment. Well, I only have one person that's going to judge me, and I have it tattooed on my arm, and it says only God can judge me. And once I started believing that in my heart, I get to talk to kids my age and saying, it's okay to go get help if you have an anger problem. It's okay to go get help if you're having a bad time in a relationship. It's okay to say, hey, I can't do this. I cannot do this on my own. Throw your hands up, hit your knees, say, God, I need your help. It's okay to do that. There's no pride. Nobody's going to judge you for that. And I'll tell you, and the kids that I talk to, I feel like, I don't know if it helps them a lot, but I feel a lot better doing it, because if I would have went and got over my selfish pride before, I went downhill, it would have been, I probably would have saved my marriage for it. And I really wish I'd have done it. So, but I graduated my BIP class. I have a lot of tools now to help me with my anger. I have a lot of tools to help me dealing with arguments and crazy situations, because when I was growing up, I didn't see my parents argue at all. And my BIP instructor was like, well, that's a problem, because you didn't see him argue, and you didn't see how it got resolved or worked out. And I did. My parents have an amazing relationship. And so my BIP instructor, you're just making it up as you go. Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. And there's a lot of guys out there that do have great parents that don't see them argue all the time, that don't see them argue and then resolve the situation. Those are the guys that I want to talk to. Those are the girls I want to talk to say, hey, I know what you're going through. Let me help you out. Let me point you in the right direction. So, yep. Yes, ma'am.
Now that you're going to your own apartment, are there things that you're needing to get settled?
Well, my grandma's giving me the couch that I grew up on, orange, what is it, velvet or what?
I'm not sure either.
I love it, but I couldn't believe she still had it, and I'm like, I'll take it. I like that thing. But I think I'm probably going to get, my mom and dad gave me, there's a few things. There's a few things like plates and
I don't know if my parents would give me the queen mattress that I like, but I'll probably end up getting one of those. But yeah, just a few things, odds and ends. Yes, ma'am.
Did you graduate from high school?
Yep.
You did?
Yes, ma'am. I graduated from Wichita South.
Okay.
Yep. I had a couple of scholarships to play football and swim, but that summer going into college was when my son was conceived, my oldest son. So I stayed home and I worked a first shift job and a third shift job to take care of, his mother. And so I didn't go to college, unfortunately, but I really wish I would have.
Well, I don't want you to quit right now,
Mhm.
but will you come back and tell us sometime how you're doing after?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I will. I would love to.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do you set goals for yourself?
I do, but I realize setting goals, sometimes I'm a very high achiever. Setting goals for myself that are so high that I can't even achieve kind of just tears me up. So I told my grandma, I was like, well, it can't get any worse from here. And I don't say that anymore. Lord, I do not say it can't get any worse anymore. That's a statement I took out of my brain because it does very quickly.
You're looking at a person who used to pray for wisdom.
Yeah. Yeah, I set daily goals. Waking up is
That's what I mean.
one of them. Yeah, I do. I set achievable goals. I think that's very important to do. I was watching a Facebook video on a retired military guy that said, wake up and make your bed.
That's right. Yeah.
And I was like, why? What is he talking about? And he says, without knowing you've achieved the first goal, or you have achieved that you've done something and completed something first thing you wake up in the morning. So I started making my bed. It might not be like neatly made, but I throw the sheet on and I tuck it in the pillow. It's enough because I'm getting right back in a couple hours. So that's one thing I'll probably always struggle with. If you guys ever come over to my house, my bed probably will not be made. Yes, ma'am.
Education available to the prisoners while they're there?
There is, but every class that I signed up for, because you get time off your sentence if you sign up and go to these classes. Now I signed up for pretty much every one of them, and every one I went to, they would cancel the class because the teacher either didn't show up or the whole time I was in there, I didn't get to go to one. They were always canceled. So it's false hopes.
Are the teachers prisoners or are they volunteers?
Volunteers. Yep. So it's all, I signed up for anything and everything I could do to get out of my cell. And every time, it would come to that day, like a family class or a parenting class or a child support class, or sometimes church, if the guy that pushed his play didn't show up, we wouldn't get to go, which is twice a month.
What jail were you in?
Sedgwick County.
What?
Sedgwick County.
Sedgwick County.
Yep. And that's it's one of the worst places to be. I got to go to, the first time I went into jail, I went into 7 different counties, and every county that I went in, like Cali County, Meade County, every other county I went to, the prisoners, had responsibilities that they had to do to clean the jail, and it was spotless. There was no black mold. You ate real food that you knew, oh, this is a cheeseburger. I know that's a cheeseburger. Not the gumbo, you're like, I don't even know what's in there. So, yeah, Sedgwick County is the worst that I've been to. It's very bad. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'd be interested in hearing about your work history, the job you're doing now, how you got promoted, you say you're a foreman, and how they went about working with you to hold your job while you weren't there.
I wasn't working at that job when I went into jail. I got hired in there so I had a buddy of mine that I was in work release with. He was working there, and he's like, hey man, come to my job. And so I went there, and I was a pale ghost, and got an outside job. I got sunburned pretty bad, but at that company, they give you performance-based raises. And I go in there every day, and I bust my butt every day, and I'm a natural-born leader. And sometimes I overstep my boundaries, but my bosses see that what I'm doing being OCD and a neat freak helps with mowing too. So I do a very good job at what I do, and I'm very passionate about what I do because mowing is a very rewarding job. You know, you go out there and the grass is, some grass we mow is like this tall, and you get done, it has nice straight lines, and you're like, yeah, I did that. It's very rewarding, and I appreciate that. And so I think that's what they saw in me. And then when I got, a big part of it, when I got my driver's license back, because I haven't had a driver's license since '07. So I finally got it back, and that also helped with the promotion too, to be honest. So, and I can drive and back a trailer. You know, when I was a kid, my grandpa always had boats. And so when we were little, he would just tie a string around us and back the boat and hit the brakes. And my brother and I were like, I come back. And then we learned how to back the boats in. So that helps with driving big trailers too. So I love what I do. So the irrigation part's a little hard. I don't like digging holes. If you guys go by 21st and Mays, that Dillon's right there, and see all the orange fence, I've dug all of those holes. So, yep.
Well, you're a foreman, you say?
Yep.
And you have somebody, a supervisor that you work for?
Yeah.
That assigns you work?
Yep. Yeah, he tells me where to go. You know, he gives me a list of either if I'm mowing today, because my crew is a floating crew. So my crew, we've trained to do irrigation and mowing and rocks, and I can do tree work too. And so normally when we do tree work, like I'm very gifted with a chainsaw, thankfully. So I was just in Manhattan, I dropped 3 trees and had the stumps grinded down in about an hour and a half. So and my guys cleaned them up, and we had them all hauled off. So we float around so we go to like Manhattan and Dodge City, Garden City, and just do whatever they tell me to do, whether it's irrigation, rock work, which I'm not a fan of, but or mowing, whatever we got to do, we get it done.
Well, on a day like that, when you go to Manhattan or Garden City?
We leave about 3 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes we get to stay there like overnight. Like the last time we went, we stayed for 2 days. We had a big island that we had to take up all the bushes and old rocks and mulch and replant new rocks, or replant new trees and put new rocks in there. I've never really done rock work before, but I'll tell you right now, I am not a fan. Because we do like the big rocks. You know, like when you go to the Dillon's and seeing those islands, those big rocks in there, you know, we just have a skid steer and dump the rock, then you have to push it to flatten it, and you're pushing one rock at a time because they're huge. I pulled my foreman card on that one. Like, guys, I got to make a phone call. You guys go ahead and take care of that. It works sometimes, but then I feel bad, so I go back to it and I help, even though I don't want to. So, any other questions?
What do you see short term and long term in your life?
Well, I don't look at long term anymore. I live my life day to day as of right now. Short term, I just hope I can keep battling the fight with the addiction to alcohol. Not like I get super hammered, but I like to drink. I'm a social drinker, and that's very hard for me, and I don't want to go back to that life because my kids need a sober dad. So that's one thing I fight with. I'll be proud of myself if I can go 4 months. I think if I can do 3 or 4 months without drinking, I'll be all right. So my short goal is to stay sober, keep hold of my faith. And I've been going to Reliance Church, and Aaron Wallace, amazing guy. And he's helped me a lot through this journey. I'm going on a men's retreat with him on the 23rd of this month. And so he's been a big part of my life ever since my grandma Linda introduced me to him. And we do look a lot alike. When we first met each other, he's like, "Oh, your grandma's right. You're a handsome man." I said, "You're a handsome man." So it's been pretty fun. I hope to in a month say that I've went 30 days, not drinking and holding on to my faith and helping. So the BIP program I was in, Dr. Peter started his own place. It's a rehabilitation center for prisoners that are getting out of jail. They've been there for like 30 plus years. And it's a ranch out east. And so I've started helping him out with that, because animals are healing, especially horses are healing. So I've started helping them out with that, talking to these guys, you know, like, I didn't spend 30 years in jail, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not a hardened criminal, but I know one thing, that if you hold firm and you start believing in this, your life's going to be a lot better. And that's why he quit his job at the Mental Health Association, because when he was teaching our program, he was trying to do it with faith, and they were getting upset with that. So he quit his job and started this place, and so he runs it off faith. And it's been going pretty good. So I enjoy helping him out with that, so do that on Wednesdays.
Do you do that on the weekends or something?
On Wednesdays. Wednesdays that I can. Sometimes we have to work long hours, and sometimes on the weekends.
But
So.
you work Wednesdays?
Yep, so I try to stay super busy because it keeps me out of trouble. I have a very short attention span. So when I'm at home, I'm like, oh, gotta go do something. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. And now if I do something, I have to walk there, so my choices are limited. Until I figure out what's gonna happen with a vehicle situation. But other than that, yeah, so. God is good. So that's my testimony. Thank you guys for paying attention. I didn't see no sleepers. I was going to come mess with a sleeper if I seen one. I was hoping to see one.
Let's gather around him and pray for him, okay?
All right.